If you guys ever looked into the NIST report and all the other stuff, you might find this interesting because this is the most recent excuse on how 9/11 happened. Just listen to this crap.
Working on either side of the Atlantic, two renowned scientists, Frank Greening and Christian Simonson, are challenging the official 9/11 report into the collapse of the Twin Towers. They believe that by ignoring the presence of aircraft wreckage in the fires, the report missed the true cause of the collapse, one of the most potentially explosive metals on Earth, aluminum. Softer, lighter, and more flexible than iron and steel, it's the ideal material for building aircraft. Under normal conditions, this incredibly flexible and versatile metal is entirely safe, but in extreme circumstances, aluminum can become incredibly volatile. One of those circumstances is when the metal is molten. Molten aluminum is safe until it comes into contact with one of the most common molecules on the planet, causing a highly explosive exothermic reaction. That abundant substance is water. When water comes into contact with molten aluminum, the water molecules recombine, producing aluminum oxide and hydrogen, releasing an explosive amount of energy. Frank Greening and Christian Simonson believe they have found the answer to some of the questions left unexplained by the official report. The theory goes like this. Inside the burning floors, the building debris collects to form an insulating wall around the aircraft wreckage, creating a furnace. Inside, the aluminum reaches 1,000 degrees. At 700 degrees above its melting point, the aluminum now flows like water. Finding cracks and holes in the damaged floor, the molten metal lands in pools of water from the sprinkler system on the floor below. The theory could explain several of the questions unanswered by the official report, including the explosions heard by 118 firemen. If enough aluminum reacted in a single event, it would provide enough force to damage the steel supports sufficiently to weaken them.
Gentlemen, which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
Yeah, there you go. That's the new evidence supporting the whole 9/11 narrative right there. You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. The airplane turned itself into a giant pile of thermite, and that's how it collapsed at free fall speed. Yeah, if you guys are believing that, I got Burt Reynolds signing autographs out back. Just saying. I mean, he'll even give you a ride in the original, Trans Am up and down the street, $100 a pop. You guys buying? No? Yeah, me neither. Anyway, all jokes aside, I did find this really interesting. Especially when I go around to try to tell people about chemtrails and how they're literally using the engines, or how in some cases that some of these pilots might not even know that they're doing it, and they could literally just set it up on a timer because they're all on pre-programmed flight paths anyway. So just saying, especially since these patents were from 1975 and 1979, who knows what they have now. But, people say this kind of stuff doesn't exist. Well, it's really funny because here's the patents for it. And if you guys want, you can look these up yourself, actually. I actually, surprisingly enough, found these on Google. So hopefully they'll still be there. But either way, here's the patent numbers, because I was actually thinking about printing off copies of these and handing them out to people that are skeptical, especially when you go outside and the skies look like this, and you can hand them something like that and say, still think that it's a conspiracy theory? So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. And then, I'm kind of curious to see if I'll be allowed to play these last two clips. So anyway, God bless, Godspeed, and keep the armor on, because the enemy truly is all around. And if you guys can't see that, you seriously need Jesus. I'm not messing around. I joke about a lot of things, but I do not joke about Jesus, and I do not joke about the Bible. So please don't misconstrue some of my weird sense of humor sometimes. But, I'm being 100% serious. The only way you're going to make it out of here as if you are firmly rooted in Christ. And with that, God bless.
To our viewers about 5 minutes ago, but we do have an established connection now with CNN's Deborah Ferry. The reports we're getting now, 2 or 3 men arrested on the New Jersey Parkway. Deborah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. That is the information that I am getting from 2 sources, that there was a van either on the New Jersey Turnpike or the Garden State Parkway, and that it was near the George Washington Bridge. There were 2 or 3 men who were in the van. The van was pulled over. It is not clear why the van was pulled over, but when it was, law enforcers found tons of explosives inside of the van. That is right now all I'm hearing, but again, 2 to 3 people in custody, and we are trying to get more information on that right now.
Deborah, I don't mean to put you on the spot here. Do you know where on the Jersey Turnpike this was? How far from New York City?
We do not know that. We are looking into that. There is one report that it was on the New Jersey Turnpike. There is another report that it was very close to the bridge, if not on the bridge. So again, these details are all emerging, and we're trying to piece them together. But that's what we've got so far. 2 to 3 people in custody right now, found with a van filled with explosives.
All right, well understood. Deborah, where are you tonight?
And word late tonight that 2 suspects are in FBI custody after a truckload of explosives was discovered around the George Washington Bridge. That bridge links New York to New Jersey over the Hudson River. Whether the discovery of those explosives has anything to do with other events today is unclear, but the FBI has 2 suspects in hand, said the truck load of explosives, enough explosives were in the truck to do great damage to the George Washington Bridge. But they arrested the 2 suspects and they're questioning them as we speak.
And all of a sudden, down there, I see this van park, and I see 3 guys on top of the van, and I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me. You know, they didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
We had received an all points bulletin, and I just happened to see the van, and hollered over to my lieutenant. I think that could be the van. We checked it out, and it was. We were all on edge, obviously, so I really wasn't looking to make friends with these people, and neither were the officers that I were with. Once we started talking to them, they were pretty much like, hey, we're not against you, we're with you.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event. The
Association, the LVA. I am the LVA's current president. Our mission statement states that we strive to have the truth told to the American public about the Israeli attack. That is, the attack was brutally deliberate. I'm not critical towards the American public, as they have been deceived by our government, Israel, and the media, which is influenced and controlled by Israeli supporters. To wit, the laws have been broken or thwarted to maintain our relationship with Israel, and will provide you with details as I know them. It is my contention that by investigating the Liberty story, a very sinister historical blight becomes defined. I pray America has the guts to look inwardly and take the right steps to correct not only the Liberty injustices, but also become acutely aware of Israelis' actions, past, present, and future, against humanity in Palestine. The Moore Commission is the benchmark identifying the Israeli injustices that our government will not address. I am a Liberty survivor. What does that mean, and how does that work into the reassessment of a relationship with Israel? I survived the 2-hour Israeli attack on the U.S. Naval Intelligence ship USS Liberty AGTR-5. On June 8, 1967, during the Arab-Israeli Six-Day War, Israel tried to sink the ship, attempting to murder the crew of 294 Americans. They launched 5 torpedoes, but our captain, William McGonigal, assertively dodged 4 of them. However, the 5th hit us on our starboard side, just forward of the midships, killing 25 of the 34 Americans. We did not sink, but 2/3 of the crew were incapacitated. There were wounded and dying sailors all over the ship. It was literally a bloodbath. It is miraculously we didn't sink, and I'll say more about that later. A little after 2 p.m., 3 Israeli unmarked fighter jets began strafing the ship with 20-millimeter cannon and rockets, killing the young sailors manning the 50-caliber machine guns. The radioman immediately tried to call for help, discovered all U.S. selected frequencies were jammed. The Israelis knew the frequencies we were attempting to use. Nevertheless, the radioman finally got through to the Sixth Fleet. No help was forthcoming that day, as the Sixth Fleet had White House orders not to launch aircraft to come to our aid. Next came 2 fighter bombers that dropped napalm canisters on each side of the ship. Even though they were being shot at, the Liberty crew eventually put out the fires. After a brief lull, 3 torpedo boats arrived, strafing the ship with their 40-millimeter cannon and 50-millimeter machine guns. Then they proceeded to drop their torpedoes in the water. One finally did find its mark. Our skipper passed a command to prepare to abandon ship. 3 inflatable life rafts that remained seaworthy were dropped over the side and were machine gunned by the motor torpedo boats. Our life vests were now our only hope for survival, and the more seriously wounded would never survive. However, the engine room was able to bring the boilers back to life, and the Liberty had power. In addition, damage control indicated that the ship stopped taking on water, and the ship came to a 9-degree list to starboard. So our captain wisely decided not to abandon ship. In order to secure the Jewish vote for upcoming elections, they could not have Israel taken to task. This was a major historical event. Any other time, their action would have been an act of war. The event had to be buried quickly, quietly, and without fanfare. Therefore, a couple of actions were taken immediately. The Navy told the Liberty survivors never to talk about the attack to anyone, including our families, or face a $10,000 fine or 10 years imprisonment. We now know the order came from Moshe Dayan. We have declassified CIA cable exposing his order. One of the generals in the room that morning explained, "This is pure murder." But they went ahead, as the order came from the defense minister, until an IDF Navy admiral later gave the order to stop the attack as the ship refused to sink. You see, their war plans included taking Syrian territory, the Golan Heights. By June 8th, the IDF had taken out the air forces of Jordan, Egypt, and Syria, captured the West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza, and the Sinai.
Israel has a bright future at the UN.
On November 1st, 2001, the Times Online reported that a large amount of gold was discovered in the wreckage of the World Trade Center.